Did you know that Virginia is the birthplace of American whiskey? Well, they've been making it there since 1607, and Catoctin Creek has been honoring that tradition of small craft rye whiskey since 2009. Virginia grain, Virginia water, and Virginia barrels. Catoctin Creek, the Virginia rye whiskey. This is brought to you by Smooth Ambler, a proud member of the Bourbon Pursuit family. Smooth Ambler builds on the traditional roots of American whiskey through innovative blends, proudly sourced whiskeys, and a unique line of their own homemade bourbon and rye recipes made in West Virginia. So venture off the traditional trail and go see them in Maxwellton, West Virginia. They'd love to welcome you to the family that they're building around their whiskey. Wilderness Trail is sweet mash Kentucky straight bourbon and rye whiskey, made by master distiller Shane Baker and fermentation expert Dr. Pat Heist. Whether it is high rye or wheated, cask strength or bottled and bond, Wilderness Trail is always non-chill filtered premium whiskey with unparalleled flavor. Distilled, aged, and bottled in Danville, Kentucky. Ooh, this is one thing I didn't know about Fred. I was going to say, usually it's like, can I have extra bacon? I'll take his bacon.
Not only does he request red only M&Ms, no bacon near my cheeseburger. No.
This is Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of bourbon, bringing to you the best in news, reviews, and interviews with people making the bourbon whiskey industry happen, and I'm one of your hosts, Kenny Coleman. Now, every year we try to do something a little bit different for Christmas, and it's not always focused around bourbon. And I'm sure you spend a lot of time with your bourbon friends talking about bourbon, but it's always fun and interesting to talk about something on a little bit more of a personal level. And this year, we decided to bring back some icebreaker questions that you might remember we used to open up our shows with doing that with guests, but we did it so you can get to know a little bit more about us. We hope you enjoy them, and from the entire Bourbon Pursuit team, happy holidays, everyone. Now, enjoy this week's episode. Barrel Craft Spirits is all about transparency, and you can check out their back label to see every state of distillation that goes into the blend. Find out more at barrelbourbon.com. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of bourbon. However, this one's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be talking a ton about bourbon. It's our Christmas special, and we try to do something a little bit different every year to give folks an insight just a little bit more about the team and everything else. And last year's Christmas, we actually had Lauren on the show. You got to learn about some of the back-end operations and her background and how she really kind of keeps a lot of us in check. Nobody realizes the amount of editing that she has to go through and make sure we sound as dumb or as smart as we actually do come across.
Yeah, it was her first and last ever recording.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, I'm out.
One hit wonder.
Never again. So this one's going to be interesting. So there was a thing that we used to do. It was like, earlier last year, or maybe last year. We didn't really do too many this year. And we used to open the show with an icebreaker, kind of a way to kind of get to know the guests a little bit more. And I think that kind of fell off because a lot of people really wanted us to get just really into the meat of the subject. And there were some times remember Fred, me, you, and Jackie, I think we talked about cheeseburgers for 45 minutes at some point.
I know, yeah. And actually, it changed like the dynamic of like, I can't remember who it was, but he changed how he made cheeseburgers based on my calling out of like a particular style in Oklahoma. And like every time he makes one, he tags me. He's like, I can't thank Fred Minnick enough for talking about it at Bourbon Pursuit. It's like so cool. So that we changed the world with that conversation, Kenny.
Hey, I mean, you know what? There's I want to give a shout out to, if anybody follows Gotham's Gotham Burger Club on Instagram. It's this
awesome dude.
Oh, I know. And all they do is just go and eat cheeseburgers around New York. Talk about a killer job. I mean, I don't know. It's either that or Steve Coombs being a pizza judge, one or the other.
Does Lipitor sponsor the show?
He's a good dude. He came out to my event in New York, and I got to meet him. Didn't get to spend a lot of time with him, but he's a supportive. Just like exactly who you'd expect to be kind of in like that role. Just like cool, conversational, and he loves bourbon, of course.
Yeah,
I love cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers, bourbon with cheeseburgers.
I'll trade bourbon for cheeseburgers. Good ones. That's what we should ask. What's the best cheeseburger in town in Louisville?
Let's start. You want to start? Let's go ahead. We'll start with the icebreakers. I'll take that one. Because I know always that I go to. And again, if you're not from Louisville, if you're coming here and you want to find out more about things that are on the trail, we do have a Yelp list. But this is one that's on the Yelp list for me, is Game. It's one of my favorites here in town. It is they
non-traditional. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's they got what? You got bison, you got kangaroo, you got wagyu, elk, rabbit, duck. I mean, you got all kinds of meat. And then if you're feeling like you're really hungry, you can get a pork belly topper, and it adds like an extra 3 inches on top of your burger. It's a heart attack and a nap all in one.
Yeah, sounds like it. But I love bison burgers. Those are good.
Yeah, I like bison. When I'm trying to feel a little less guilty about my burger game, I'll go bison or elk.
What about you, Fred? You got a favorite burger joint in town?
I mean, I used to. It closed down, and it wasn't really a burger joint, but Corbett's used to make the best burger. Like he grounded up steak, and it was so amazing. I'm a big fan, and I know this is not going to be on a lot of people's radars. I'm a big fan of Karam's. It's really close to me, so that's always nice. But I know what to get every time. And I love the crispness of the buttered bun, and I like the unevenness of the patty. Like you can tell they threw it on the grill and they smashed it. I really am not a fan of the perfectly made patties. I like patties that are uneven, and it's like the size and the spacing is different from time to time. But the most important part to my style of cheeseburger is the onion. Like I love onion, and he's always got a really good, crisp, crunchy red onion that complements the bun, the mustard I like, and the cheese in the burger.
So you're just like a kind of middle of the road, old fashioned, regular kind of cheeseburger. Not like we got to get the caramelized onions, got to get the fancy aioli.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of those. I mean, don't get me wrong, I will eat them. But I love mustard, and if I'm going to go add a little something to it, I'll add some jalapenos, maybe a barbecue sauce instead of mustard. But I don't like when I used to cover restaurants. That was one of my assignments, was like going to various. I remember going to Cousins, WW Cousins, and like having all the toppers and everything, and I didn't like it. I don't even like bacon on my cheeseburgers. I like to be able to taste the meat, the bun kind of cheese combo.
Might be blasphemy to some of our listeners out there.
No, so when I do get bacon on there, I'll pull it off the side and eat it. I don't like it on the cheeseburger.
Ooh, I didn't. This is one thing I didn't know about Fred. I was gonna say, usually it's like, can I have extra bacon? I'll take his bacon.
Not only does he request red only M&Ms. No bacon near my cheeseburger.
No, well, Ryan, you asked it. I'll let you answer your question.
I always have a hard time saying best because, as with everything, I have like two. So I'll go, if you're going for like best traditional cheeseburger, Shady Lane Cafe on Brownsboro Road, Rudy Lane, is phenomenal. Not a lot of people know about it.
They do now. Way to go.
It's a quirky place. It's interesting, but man, cheeseburgers and fries are good there. And then like non-traditional, I love Grind Burger Bar's B&B burger. It's, I don't even know. I think it's brie bacon, and then there's like everything Fred hates. There's brie bacon and like a jalapeno chutney on it or something. And it's like sweet, salty, and like it's everything. It's perfect.
All right, well, let's keep this food trend going. So I'll ask another one. So what's the best meal that you know how to cook?
Here lately, I've been nailing my ribs. They've been really good, but probably best overall is like I really know how to nail a beef tenderloin on my smoker. Get like a 9 or 10 pound prime tenderloin from Costco, put on my pit barrel smoker. It's perfect. It hangs down, and something about the convection around it. So I cook it, smoke it for like 90 minutes in there, and then I fire up the grill and like get it as hot as I can and sear it on both sides. And man, it is like, everybody loves that when they come over.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah. We're waiting for the invite.
Yeah, I know. I haven't gotten that invite.
Maybe not. I know it's usually for people I don't even like, so I'll definitely invite you guys.
Yeah, hopefully they don't listen to the show.
I'm kidding.
You don't like them now.
I'm totally kidding. I love everyone that comes to my house.
I gotta say, I gotta say, it's probably going to be a strip steak. I'm very specific about the strip steak. I love ribeyes, but I think anybody can. I think you don't need a lot of skill to cook steak to make the ribeye shine, because ribeyes they cook so well. All that fat pushes in there, and it's really good. I think strip steak takes a little bit of cooking skill, and I love a cast iron skillet, searing it both sides, sticking it in like the broiler, finishing it off. And I love like cooking it with butter, salt, and pepper, pushing the garlic in there, and just that to me, a strip steak is where I shine for cooking.
Well, that's good. So I'm on the opposite. You all are, your meats. I have a tendency to either go 30 seconds too long or 30 seconds too short. And it's like I could just never get the doneness perfectly. So you all went on the turf side. So I'm going to go the surf side. And for some reason, and maybe it's just a big green egg or whatever it is, but you put a salmon on a plank and you run it at 425 degrees for like 15 minutes, man, and use a little Raging River rub on it. Ooh. I swear, that's some of the best salmon that you're going to have. I mean, my wife says all the time that, she'll go out and she'll eat salmon a lot of different places. And I'll tell you what, 99% of the time, it doesn't beat that. And it's probably one of the best meals that I think it's always a good go-to. It just takes a lot of planning.
Salmon on the grill is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with Lauren. Every time I go somewhere and order salmon, I'm like, I'm gonna be a little healthy, and I'm like, well, it's not as good as home. Yeah. And I've had your salmon before, Kenny. It's really good.
It is good. It is good because salmon's not the healthiest fish by any means. Because you get that white stuff, all the fat bubbling out of it, and that's when you know it's done.
Fat's good. It's all those omega-3s.
Yeah, it's the good fat.
Yeah.
You keep telling me that, and I'll just keep eating it. How about that?
Well,
it's
you're
not like the visceral rib fat.
You're pretty thin, so I don't think you got to worry about it, bud. I mean, you like burn calories. I look at something and gain 10 pounds, so you're good.
It's a lot of running around. I somehow burn it off. Should we stay on the food thing? Should we say one more food question here?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Why not?
Right. I got another one for you. So you go to the movies. Mm-hmm. You go with candy, chocolate, or popcorn.
Oh boy, I tell you, it depends on who's in the movie with me. If it's my son, there's going to be a chocolate there, but everybody there's a popcorn. There's always a popcorn to pass around. But for me personally, I gotta have Twizzlers. Twizzlers are my jam. Oh. I love them. I love them. I always have. I don't like Red Vines. I love Twizzlers, and I think that my affection for Twizzlers just goes back to when I was a kid. They were it's always what I liked, and it reminds me of going Halloween trick or treating, and yeah. Unfortunately, going back to the weight thing, now I'm like
it all comes back to that, doesn't it?
I'm having to be a little bit more mindful of the Twizzlers, so I've had to say no a few times.
Diet Twizzlers.
They don't make
Twizzlers.
Low calorie Twizzlers. Like what was it?
Twizzlers.
What was it? The low calorie gummy bears that got all those kind of crazy reviews on Amazon where people just like pretty much lost their stomachs. I don't know. Go Google it. You'll
every
find
time they try to make something less caloric that's made out of sugar, it just sucks. There's no replacing the recipe.
No. Ryan, what about you? How often do you go to the movies?
Probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year, maybe.
All right.
But we tend to do both. So we get snow caps and dump them into our popcorn.
Really?
Yeah. So snow caps are like the little white, like chocolate morsels, and they have the white little
sprinkles on top.
It's like the perfect balance of sweet and salty. I don't know. I always like dipping my fries in Frosty, and it's on the same train.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Hey! Don't knock the fries and the Frosty.
They're special.
That is epic.
All right, so I'll throw another one out for y'all. So this is kind of one for people maybe know a lot, just a little bit more about you. So what was your first job? Like your first paycheck? Like what was it? What'd you get it from?
Oh boy.
I'll tell mine. So mine was soccer refereeing. So that was kind of how I got my little first start into the work world. Was, I was playing soccer for a long time and got into the referee side of the world, and that's how I made a lot of money growing up doing that, all day on Saturday from 8 until 6 p.m.
So when I was 10 to 12, I started my own mowing business. And my dad would drive me around and I would mow people's yards, but that wasn't really a job as much as it was like, people having pity on me. And because I was asking, but when
old Minnick over here asking to cut our yard,
it was pity. Believe me, looking back, that was definitely pity work, especially, I like broke hoses. I I weed eated and like disconnected an air conditioning hose and all kinds of random stuff like that, and like dug up gopher hole. Just anyway, I'd say the real first job I had was about 13, 14, and I bought a horse. I bought this beautiful Palomino, stud, and I was trying to break it. And we were having some problems, and we even brought in like we brought in like a consultant to like break it.
Somebody from the Yellowstone Ranch.
He's a guy who shoot horses for a living, so he was in that circuit of like traveling around. Like he would go to ranches and shoot horses. So he was one of those guys. His name was Rusty, and he was just like he's exactly
I'm here to shoot your horse.
Are we saying shoot or shoe?
Shoe, like shot.
Okay, I was like,
because Ryan just said shoot. I was like, wait a minute,
what? Rusty, I'm Rusty, and I'm here to shoot your horse.
No, so he'd call it shotting or shooting if he's a fair, and he would like come and like, and that's a hard job to like put horseshoes on a horse. Anyway, so he rides him around a little bit. He's like, yeah, I could break him for you, but it's gonna cost you, and he's tough, so he's gonna. But I'd recommend you getting him, castrating him and making him a gelding. And what my first thought was, and I had pigs, and we castrated our own pigs and our own sheep and everything. I took one look at that horse. I was like, I'll fucking get killed if I try to castrate this horse. And so I went to the vet and I said, hey, I don't have any money because my parents wouldn't pay for it, my grandparents wouldn't pay for it. I said, I'll work for you if you'll castrate my horse. And
it's an amazing story.
And so we take him in, he castrates him. I worked there for 3 weeks, making I think $3.15 an hour, the equivalent of that. And I eventually get enough to pay it off. And the vet was like, you know what? You worked out all right. So he gave me a job, and I had that job all the way through high school and worked there a little bit through college too. And I thought I was going to be a vet until I started writing, and I changed my mind. I want to be a writer.
What about you, Ryan? What was your first paycheck? Do you remember that? I know you talk all the time about weed eating at all the distilleries and stuff like that.
Well, my first paycheck was from my tight ass dad. He owned a business and he was a machinist. And so they did tool and die repairs. So there was a lot of metal shavings. And so I'd have to go, I don't know, it was probably even earlier than 10, go and sweep up all the metal shavings, and then shop vacuum, and then clean all the coolant off. It was like disgusting. And everybody was like, why didn't you take your dad's business over? And I was like, because I did that shit and I hated it. And so I hated that. And after about, I don't know, a couple of years, I started working for a landscape company that mowed and stuff, and I'd weed eat it, and they had the contract for Heaven Hill mowing all around the warehouses, bush hog and stuff, and he'd give me a weed eater, and for 8 hours, I would just go weed eat until I ran out of gas, go fill up, run out of gas or string, just keep going around those warehouses, and every time, it'd be hot as hell, and you'd run those windows, cool air would pop out of them, so it'd be like, air conditioning. It was awesome. But every afternoon or night, I'd go up to somebody and they're like, why are your hands shaking all the time? And I'm like, because I've been weed eating for 8 hours and they won't stop. It's just like the vibration from it just never went away. But that's what I did in high school. And then I loved it so much I got a damn degree in the shit, growing grass, turf degree. So
did you get a turf management degree or was it landscape architecture?
Turf management. So it was agronomy is what it's called, but with a emphasis in turf management. So I wanted to be a golf course superintendent because I did love being outside and I love growing grass and seeing the nice green stripes and everything. There's something therapeutic about it.
We had a big program for that at Oklahoma State, and I had a lot of fraternity brothers.
That's a good
lot of fraternity brothers that got turf management, and those guys, all they did was play golf. And I was like, "Do you guys even go to class?" They're like, "Yeah, we're going to class." And they would
respect the course,
It was just like incredible, and like my buddy ended up getting like a course that had a lot of PGA events. So he's a superintendent. I don't remember where he's at now, but he was at one that I think in Arkansas that had some PGA events. But that is an awesome gig because those golf courses, there are few things more beautiful than a well-preserved, well-maintained golf course. They're just beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely like man versus nature. Nature's trying to take like everything away from you and down from you, and you're like, it's definitely a science and art. Like, I can grow grass at like 1/10 of an inch. Take that, Mother Nature. It's
in Phoenix, Arizona.
And then she's like, well, F you. I'm just going to kill everything with a disease. And then you're like, well, guess I'll start over. Or army worms.
What's the best grass for that 1/10 of an inch? Is it creeping bent grass? Would that be the best grass for that?
So bent grass is, next would be like fine fescues or ryegrass. Ryegrass is what Augusta plays on. So people don't know this, but Augusta is only open 3 months out of the year, and they overseed with ryegrass every single fall. And so in Masters, ryegrass hits its peak, so it's pure green, but then it dies like in the summer, and they close the course down. And so everybody's like, make my yard look like Augusta. And I was like, okay, you give me $10 million and you only want it to look good for 3 months, I can do it.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm sure everybody's thrilled with this grass talk. They probably want more castration stories.
Oh, well, it sounds like you had a pretty difficult, like that was, I would think, if you can think of, right, I'll ask you too, Fred, is like, what's the most like grueling and like overexerting, physical straining job that you ever had? And I know this wasn't even a job. I remember, if anybody remembers, I think it was there was a big ice storm in 2004. I think that's when it was, and back at University of Kentucky, and it was like the only time they had shut the entire school down for a week. But because of the ice storm, that means tons of trees fell over and all this other kind of stuff. So one of my fraternity brothers called, was like, hey, I got a guy that says we can make some extra money, basically going around following the truck and taking all these limbs and, putting them in through the chipper. And I did that for, I think, 8 hours one day, and it was insanely physical, of trying to like basically move massive logs with two people into a chipper and making sure that you stay away from that thing. And I remember he called me the next day. He's like, "You ready to go?" I was like, "No, dude, my body I am wasted. There's no way you're getting me out for a second day to go and do this."
I work on computers all day, buddy.
Yeah, I was like,
I ain't seen a limb in 10 years.
Yeah. Have you seen my hands?
Ever. I've never touched a limb.
There's no calluses on these hands. Don't you worry about that.
So there's these things they call, so if you look at a golf course, like bunker, if you ever watch like the real nice golf courses, they got real steep bunker faces, the grass that grows just above the sand, to the green. And of course you can't get a mower on those, and you can't weed eat because you need the grass to be even. So they have these things called fly mowers that basically you stand on top and you like sit on the hill and like it hovers on the grass and like mows it. So when you're an intern at Valhalla for the Ryder Cup, you get to do this all day, every day and you just hang on to like a steep bunker face, it's like 20, and you're hanging on and you're like hanging this thing and you're swinging it back and forth. And like by 8 a.m., your clothes are like drenched in sweat and you're like, I can't work anymore for the day. And they're like, too bad, go eat this hillside, But anyways, that was my hard job.
I'd say anything. You could take any point in the military, but I think that's too obvious. I had a job laying concrete, so staying on the golf course, laying concrete on a new golf course in El Reno, Oklahoma, the country club there, and I laid all the sidewalks, and I was reminded of how much that laying concrete is like, how much that hurt my body. Like you would find like muscles that I didn't know exist. When I was reminded of that when I started laying concrete in my backyard, like finishing my my patio area, and man, that's hard work. Getting up, because you never do it at like 10 o'clock. You start at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and end at like 5 o'clock. And a beer never tasted so good than when you've been working all day like that. Another hard one was probably being a UPS unloader. Keeping the pace in UPS store, or not a UPS store, but a UPS like trucks, unloading those trucks and having, being on top of it and constantly moving. Got in really good shape during that. But obviously the military would be the most difficult with a lot of that stuff we had to do.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to disagree with you there. Did you say that course that you were laying concrete was in Reno? Is that what you said?
El Reno, Oklahoma.
Oh, El Reno in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I was going to say
the El Reno Country Club.
I gotcha. Well, you said Reno, and that kind of picked another idea up in my head here. Ask another question to you all. So, A, are you a gambler? And B, what's your favorite casino game? Spirits of French Lick pays tribute to the many distilleries that once dotted the southern hills of Indiana. They focus on using the best practices of those early times in balance with the improved methods of today, delivering the finest handcrafted bottled and bond bourbons to an audience that's eager for an alternative to the big guys. Their distilling philosophy is balance between the distiller's art and the contribution of the barrel, time, and patience to bring you an unparalleled quality and depth of flavor. Spirits of French Lick's motto is simple: respect the grain. You can find all Spirits of French Lick's products and their new releases on sealbox.com. But don't just take Fred Minnick's word for it. Find out for yourself. And check out spiritsofFrenchlick.com and follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Remember to always drink responsibly. Spread holiday cheer at Total Wine & More, a wonderland for every wine, spirits, and beer lover on your list, including you. Wrap up gift giving with top-notch bourbons for top-shelf collectors, and pair it with a roasted duck for a jolly match. Uncork joy with a merry Cabernet and meet under the mistletoe. And don't miss this year's top 20 wines handpicked by elves. Ring in the new year with their top bubbly picks, and with over 8,000 wines, 4,000 spirits, and 2,500 beers, you'll find just the right bottle that'll look great in a bow, and at prices that feel like a present. Choose curbside pickup, in-store pickup, shipping, or delivery, and fill your sleigh in-store or at TotalWine.com. Spirits not available in Virginia or North Carolina. The Heaven Hill Bourbon Experience underwent an expansion, renovation, and renaming as a culmination of a multi-year $19 million investment in Kentucky's signature industry and a model for the future of tourism. The state-of-the-art visitor center is an interactive, educational space offering signature exhibits unique to the visitor center, including a You Do Bourbon Experience, where guests are guided through a tasting of unique products. And to commemorate your visit, you'll have the opportunity to bottle your favorite bourbon or whiskey through the custom-designed filling machines, and then you can apply the label and personalize it in the bottling room. To learn more about bourbon, Heaven Hill's history, and their award-winning portfolio, go to heavenhilldistillery.com/booking to schedule a tour. Heaven Hill reminds you to think wisely, drink wisely. Cheers. So, A, are you a gambler? And B, what's your favorite casino game?
I dabble in the gambling. I'm not like a huge gambler because for my job, I outside and it's hot and sweaty, and like losing $100 in 10 minutes is like, oh, I do like it though. I like the thrill of it. So I usually like blackjack, but the last time I went to casino, my buddy Gala, one of our friends, talked me into playing craps. And I was like, I don't understand it. It's too complicated. And then I was like, well, if Gala can do it, I can do it. So, so I sat next to him. He taught me, and I was like enthralled. And we won, and I was rolling, and it was so much fun. Like I rolled for like 10 minutes, and these people were like, oh, you're the best. And then you crap out, and they're like, we hate you, But that was really fun. Craps was, you got a lot of people around you, and you can play for a while. But they all can take your money really quickly.
Yeah.
Play the pass line or something. I don't really know how
Pass
to play
line,
craps
yeah.
either. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't really know how to
That's
play.
what we did mostly.
You go, Kenny, and then I'll go.
Yeah, so I'd say I'm not much of a gambler. I like my money too much, and I hate, as Ryan said, I hate losing my money really quickly. It's one of those things that's why I love going to the horse track, and maybe people kind of agree with it too, because you could go to a casino and you could lose $100 in 10 minutes, but you could go to the racetrack with $100 and you could be there all day. And because it's a lot easier to spend $6 on a race that only runs every 20, 30 minutes than it is to do that, because you go to a blackjack table where the minimum is $25 and you're like, well, this is going to go pretty quick. But if I had to choose a favorite, I'd say roulette. Roulette's probably one of my favorites. It's one of my dad's favorites as well. And
worst odds.
It's the worst odds, but I tell you what, when you hit, it makes it all go away. And his sort of strategy is one that I've always done as well, and that's always take red 23 and surround it. And sometimes it actually ends up working in your favor. The last time I was in Vegas, I think I was down probably like $200, something like that. And it was like one or two rolls left. I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm just going to kind of go like all for broke on this last one. And I put 5 or 10 chips on 23 and then surrounded it with some more and then kind of play some other ones. And what do you know? It lands on 23 and my day turned around as quick as you'd think. And I was pretty happy after that. But thankfully Lauren was with me and she said, all right, I think you're done here. Let's go ahead and walk away.
Wow. I love roulette, but I can't play a lot of it. What I do love, I love watching people play roulette, because they all have like this strategy going in, kind of like your dad.
Yeah.
And they're like,
it never really works.
They got this number.
It's a ball bouncing on a wheel. It's like, how much strategy can you
and then they do the 4 quarters, like, okay, we spread 16 out. Like, even if it pays out, you break even. Like, but we didn't lose money. I'm like,
we could have just gone and had a hot dog and had a better time.
I mean, it's the strategy of roulette just cracks me up. But I always will play. I will always play at least once or twice. I like blackjack, but blackjack got kind of boring to me, and also it got really like started getting nervous when I started seeing people lose a lot of money. Like I hate seeing people lose money. Like that just like it devastates me. It bugs me personally. And I'm in casinos. We're having fun. And we're always going to the nice restaurants and shows. And we have a great time because we go to Vegas a lot, but we don't gamble a lot. And I remember going to, I did really well. I hit a jackpot and I was like, we're going to go over here. I'm going to go to the high limits tables. And so I went to a high limits table and there was an NFL lineman there. I witnessed this guy lose like $20,000 in like 2 minutes. And I just got up. I felt numb. I walked away. I don't remember how much it was, but he was playing like $1,500 a hand. It was a lot of friggin' money. And I thought I was big time playing like $200 a hand. And, I walked away.
That is big time.
I'd say that's pretty big time.
I walked away okay. But my favorite to play after, those kinds of incidents, I love playing the ponies, but that's not really a casino game. I really like high limit slots. So what I do is I will go into the high limit slots area, with a couple $100, and I will always hit. I'll always hit and I'll get 1,500. I'll take that 1,500 and go out and find another slot machine that seems to be has a decent pot, but not out of reach. and then I'll hit there, and then I'll go back in the high limit slots and play. And I've done, I've walked out with like 10 grand before with that, and like
It never happens to me.
And the best part of doing high limit slots is you get points. And when you get points, you get really good comps. Like, and they're trying to get your money back, and so they try to keep you there, obviously. But if you can't be stupid about it. And
here comes the next book, High Slots Curious.
Yeah,
high Limit Slots Curious, whatever.
But my wife likes video poker, and you get points out of that too. But
video poker's good. I like that. That's fun.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, you don't
just
think
sit around
slot machines are rigged. You tell me video poker is not rigged. I mean, that's one that you can definitely, you can't. There's no physical cards there. You have no idea what's going to happen.
My wife hit a royal flush in Aruba playing video poker and paid out like, I don't know, a couple grand on a nickel. It was on a nickel one too, and she was betting like one or two. And I was like, you got to do max bet every time. And then like five things later, she hits a royal flush, and I was like, aren't you glad you did max bet instead of like one or two? Because it would only paid like a tenth of that. But yeah, that's the only time we won. That's
some pretty good luck. I was about to say, Mr. Papa Giorgio's never been on my side with a lot of these big wins. Yeah, it's just a couple $100 here and there. Anybody gets that old, what was that?
Vegas
Vacation reference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, where was that from?
Dig up the coffee cans in the desert, Cousin Eddie.
But I would take a horse track and some bourbon and a cigar any day of the week. That's like,
oh yeah,
that's like
totally.
heaven to me. I love it.
I think do $2 try boxes every race, $12 race, and if you hit one, you hit pretty good. Most of the time you won't, but you only lost like $100 for the day.
Let's see. So we've talked about Vegas a little bit. I think we all agree on the horse racing thing. I guess that's another thing. We'll talk about horse racing. So Ryan, you just said you do what, your $2 trifectas?
Yep, $2 dry box.
So Fred, what's your go-to bet?
So it's not so much a go-to bet. It's reading the race, and it's reading the race on paper and the track. My strategy is following the speed. And past finishes based on the track. So the track condition is a big one for me. A lot of people will put stock in trainers, which I do, and they'll take a look at the horse, which I do. But I put an overwhelming amount of stock into the speed and how they finish. And it's a pretty good system. And what I'll do is I'll find 3 horses. It depends on what my budget is for the day, but I'll take 3 horses that kind of meet my specs for speed. Take a look at the odds. I don't like betting on overwhelming favorites. Like if it's like a 6-5 favorite, I don't like betting on them outside of like having them in a try box or something like that. So I really like 10-1, 6-1 horses because they tend to fare really well if they're high speed horses. So I look for that kind of profile. And I look for, and when there's a horse that's like 40-1, 50-1, and it's got like closing speed and it's not a muddy track, I'll go crazy on them. I'll do 100 across the board if it's the right race.
Look at you.
And it's paid off. I mean, but it's also like, I had 3 derbies in a row where I had the winner, and then I've been on a streak that's not as good,
not so hot streak.
But like I've had some shows in there. But
Churchill must be giving you vouchers for doing those Legend Series.
Well,
betting that kind of money.
I usually have a bar. Well, I mean it's been a while. Last year I didn't go. The year before that I had a box. No, the year before that I did the Governors. I was a guest of the Governors, and we did the Millionaires Row, and that was pretty fun. But before that I would always have a bar, and I would just be, betting back and forth. And I know a lot of the handicappers, and it's just, they're usually wrong, but it's fun talking to them and listening to their strategy. And when they're right, they know everything. But
I feel like it's like roulette. It's a ball bouncing around a wheel. This is just horses running in a circle, and they're animals. You never know what they're going to do. It's like,
Yeah.
I love people's strategy, and I'm like, it's horses running a circle. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Yeah,
that's the fun part about it.
Yeah. Again, another kind of note I took off of my dad. My wife always says it looks like I know what I'm doing, but it never works out. So I'll usually open up the program and I'll go through and I'll start putting basically marks next to each horse, and I'll add a mark for different things. So if it has the most wins out of anything, if it has the fastest time, if it's had some of the most races, if I like the jockey, if the owner has a good percentage, if the trainer is the same as the owner, it gets bumped up a little bit as well. And so usually it's like, okay, if these horses have 5 or 6 or 4 tick marks, I'll put it, in a win play show or something like that. And it works out about 2% of the time. So
sounds about right.
Yeah,
my strategy.
Like I said, it looks good on paper, but it never really works out. Yeah. It's okay. It's easy to lose a few bucks at the horse track. Keeps them in business, keeps us having fun.
All it takes is that one time, and you got that feeling, and it's a lot of fun. I mean,
I know what I'm doing.
I'll keep coming back for years. I got this.
Yeah. It's like hitting that one magical shot in golf. You suck all day, and then you hit one, and you're like,
yeah,
I know what I'm doing.
You had just the right balance of bourbon in your system, and you somehow just got it straight down the fairway.
Yep.
All right, so let's finish off with one more, and this one is kind of a little more insightful, maybe something like that. So, what's one part of the world that you still really want to see or experience?
I think for me, Greece. I'm fascinated with Greek culture. Like I go into like Greek restaurants, and they all kind of look the same. Like no matter where they are in the world or in the country, like they have a lot of plants, and they've got like a clouded ceiling. There was this place in Milwaukee when I lived there called Blue Mound Gardens. It was my favorite restaurant to go to. People were like, "Why do you like going there?" It's like, I don't know. I just like the ambiance of like Greek places, and I like the way they interact with one another. And I love the Greek culture is fascinating to me, and I think Greece would be, and I like old ancient ruins kind of thing. I think it'd be fun.
It's got a story behind it, for
yeah.
sure. What about you, Ryan? What's the dream trip you think that you want to go on?
Well, as with everything, I have two. So for fun, I'd love to go to like Patagonia, Chile, kind of Argentina, South America, kind of, because I love mountains, I love water, I love nature, and that's like, I don't know, and you look at the photos down there, it just looks like incredible. And now two, I'd like to go to the Holy Land in Jerusalem, just because I've been to Rome, I've been to Spain, and like you see all the old stuff there, which is really cool, and it's like crazy because you read and you learn growing up learning about all this stuff, then you see it in the flesh. But it'd be cool to see like, Jerusalem, and then like all the surrounding territories around it, just to see like where that's like ancient history, that would be fascinating to me.
I've been to Chile and Argentina, and especially with your love for food, I think you're smart to want to go there. Like whenever you want to go, man, just let me know. Still have a lot of friends down there, and Chile is so underrated. So underrated. Everybody knows about Argentina, but Chile is kind of like, they it's an amazing country, incredible people.
Yeah, it looks like it. I've been researching. One day we'll get there. One day.
But Ryan, this one might kind of surprise you because Ryan and I talk all the time, and we'll be driving somewhere. He's like, "Oh, check out that sunset." I'm like, "I don't give a shit about the sunset. Like, let's get there, right?" And so he's like, "Oh, the fall foliage, like it looks so beautiful." It's like, they're leaves, man. Like, get them out of here. Like, let's go to the next season. So, but this one's like, he might kind of find this surprising. So
Mr. Stoic.
I know. I really kind of want to see the Northern Lights. I think that'd probably be really cool to kind of,
that'd be awesome.
Take a trip. I mean, it's never warm, but I feel like it would be kind of cool to see something that it's a pretty rare sight, and you just kind of look up the sky and it's something magical. So I think
Does part of you think it might be aliens though?
I don't want to think. We had that other icebreaker. Do you believe in aliens a long time ago?
That could get weird.
Yeah. No,
we don't have enough time.
I hope they're not aliens. I'm not going to say that aliens don't exist, but I'm going to say I hope they don't.
It's Mother Nature's EDM show. That's why Kenny wants to go up there.
Yep. All the lasers.
Natural lasers and fog.
You pinpointed, man. You got me.
Yep.
Cool. Well, guys, this was fun. It's kind of got a chance to let people know a little bit more about us and kind of our insights and other things that we want to see in the world and everything like that. So should we finish it off with maybe something bourbon to keep people entertained with it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see. We did most underrated whiskey of the year already for the round table. What about...
How about favorite bourbon shopping experience of the year?
Okay.
Favorite bourbon shopping experience.
Favorite bourbon shopping experience of the year.
Okay.
We'll let you go first since you came up with it.
Okay.
You must have a...
Yeah, no, I do. Like, I remember, and I sent you guys a text of this when I was in Atlanta, and I was there. I was in an area for a meeting, and I just saw this hole in the wall liquor store in a lot that kind of had a little bit of an abandonedness to it. You know, it didn't look like the shopping area was doing very well. And I walked into this liquor store, and it was just like a sea of product, and they had probably 12 rows high of bourbon and like a good 20 feet across. I mean, it was big. It would be even big for like Kentucky standards, like Louisville. I mean, and they had Weller, they had Willet, they had all of these really hard to find products on the shelf. And I saw y'all's, Pursuit United up there. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And I ended up buying a bunch from there because I had to take it for a meeting for a tasting. And, I just, to me, that's one of my favorite experiences when I walk into a rando liquor store that I have low expectations for, and I see the sea of bourbon.
Well, I'm just glad we found ours.
Yeah, bought the bottle too.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell mine. So this actually happened relatively recently, and that's because it's you go most of the time you just go out to the store and you find something to get something, but it was nothing that really kind of like the heavens opened or anything like that. And the days of getting lucky at the store and just finding something on the shelf are few and far between for me.
Right.
But it was Thanksgiving Day this year. Like Thanksgiving Day, I go to Total Wine near our house because we needed some sort of like a big thing of bitters. Anyway, I go there and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, right? The place had just sort of opened up. And I'm sitting there and what we all do. We go to the liquor store. Even if we don't need to, I go to the bourbon aisle anyway, just to look, just to peruse.
Every time.
Because you got to see what else is out there. What do we not know about? And it's kind of looking at what are the prices? What are these people doing? And I ended up running into one of my friends from high school, and he had his kid there, and we're just sitting in the bourbon aisle. We're just talking, and his kid's probably, I don't know, 2, something like that. And we're just sitting there just talking it up, and his kid starts running down the aisle like really quickly. And so we go chasing after him. And towards the end of the aisle is when you get to the glass case. And looking inside the glass case, I look in there and I'm like, oh, they got a Stag Junior barrel pick from Total Wine in there. And nobody had known about it. People might not know about this, but anything like that, that's usually when the bat signal goes in the air and everybody's flying there to go and get it off the shelves. And me and him were the first people to kind of spot it and ended up getting a bottle and going home. And I tried texting a few people around. I think I texted you. I was like, hey, if you need one, run over to Total right now. But it was one of those things that's like, I never come across that anymore in the wild. So it was, It was kind of random for me to be able to find that.
Especially in Louisville.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen Stag Junior on a shelf.
Wow.
It's
7-8 years.
It's been a long time to even find Stag Junior on the shelf. That's very true.
All right, so mine popped in my head. It actually just happened last weekend. I was at the Louisville International Airport, and I was in the lobby, and I walk in, and I was like, I see a bottle with green label and green. I was like, is that Henry McKenna? And I was like, because I haven't seen Henry McKenna ever since this guy. Right. You know.
Kind of ruined it for everybody, didn't he?
Yeah.
So anyways, I was, and I was going to Dallas, and I was like, I should get one. And they were charging $60. I was like, and this guy walks in with his wife, and they were just, you could tell they weren't from here, and they were on like a connecting flight, and they were just looking at stuff, and they're like, I could overhear them like trying to figure out a Christmas gift for their son. They're like, does he like this one? Does he not? And I go, guys, you all need to get one of these bottles, like, because you can't find these anywhere. And this is really great whiskey at $60. Normally it's like probably $30 at retail, but you're not going to find it that. So I would get one of these. And the guy's like, are you sure? And I was like, just trust me, get one.
I got a podcast.
And then I go, well, no, I didn't say anything. And I was like, so Tiffany and I walk to our terminal. We're sitting there, like 20 minutes passes by, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, we just texted my son, and he is like freaking out because he has never had a bottle of Henry McKenna and he loves bourbon, and now we can give that to him. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. He came up out of his way to tell me, thank you for telling him that. And so, because I don't have any cool stories because I don't shop and I can't find shit when I do shop. So that was my highlight of the year.
That's awesome. That's a great story, Ryan. That's a great story.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, fellas, happy Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. Merry Christmas to all of our listeners out there. Thank you once again for another incredible year and sticking with us. And make sure we got a lot. We're just starting. Bourbon's just starting. This podcast is just starting. We got a long way, a lot of cool topics to cover going into 2022. So really excited for you all to be joining us going into the new year. But again, thank you for sticking around, learning a little bit more about us, and cheers, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
Toodles.
Vodka sucks.
2022 year of vodka. Just kidding.
Keep it going.